Find this and other great figures at BigBadToyStore.com.
What's going on, guys? Today we are going to be taking a look at Titan-class Metroplex. Now, this is the United States release of the figure. I was not able to get a hold of the Japanese release of the figure because, quite frankly, the cost was just too darn high. The figure itself would have been around $200, but then shipping the thing would have been an additional $200. So I went with the USA version. Now, the reason I've taken so long to get to this guy is because I haven't been able to get a hold of him until recently. I've only had him at this point for a little bit of time. So I've had a bunch of other things to review, so now we're getting a look at it. Plus, I wanted to wait until a couple of third-party items came out. Specifically, TFC's 009 figure. Sorry, I have him in a bad light here. And then this other third-party thing, which is a modified, heavily modified Scamper unit. So I wanted to pick both of those up before I got a hold of, or I did a full Metroplex review. We're starting off in City mode simply because this is probably the best mode to start off with, in my opinion. It's a very decent-looking City mode. It's by no means perfect, but it is a wonderful homage to the original G1 figure. I think the G1 figure actually looked a little better than this, but this is not bad at all. The unit does, or the figure I should say, does come with its own Scamper figure, which we'll talk about here in a second. But overall, the City mode looks really good and has a lot of play. It is perfectly sized to fit Legends class figures. So, unfortunately, all my Legends class figures are, of course, in storage. So yeah, there's that. But overall, City mode is pretty cool. Helicopter pad, bunch of guns, very, very nice. So, let's go ahead and take a look at Scamper. I dare say that Scamper is probably the best thing about the Metroplex set, and that's kind of crazy if you think about it, but this little dude is awesome. He is a Legends class figure, tons of posability. He's got posability in the knees, ball joint in the hips, ball joint in the shoulders, and in the elbows. Head is ball jointed but very difficult to move, so I will leave it alone. He's got an excellent little face sculpt, screams the 80s, and he's just a really cool little figure. He's got this little gun here that obviously he can hold, and it's just a figure that's a whole lot of fun. I think the fists are put on or molded incorrectly, and I don't like the fact that you've got the wheels on one side and then all this car junk on the other. It does affect his posability a bit, but I can look past that, especially when you got this little dude who's just oozes personality. Transformation is very simple and very easy. Bring the legs together, pop open the chest, fold the hips up into the body, and then swing the legs back and flip them up to form the back of the vehicle mode. Bring the arms in and twist them such that the wheels are on the outside and they peg into place on those pegs. And then you've got this really cool little car. I love this little car. It really reminds me of something from the 80s. You can put the gun on top, and you can either have the gun facing forwards or backwards. I prefer to have it facing forwards because, let's face it, it's Scamper. He's supposed to have guns pointing forwards. Little engine, little sports car, just freaking awesome. Metroplex does come with lights and sounds, but oddly enough, not his own AA batteries.
Metroplex heeds the call of the last prime. Foolish Decepticons. Decepticon deactivation commencing. Target synchronizing initiated. Target obliterated. These Decepticons scatter like cowards. Kill all are one.
Transformation for this figure is challenging simply due to the fact that the figure is ginormous. It is a massive, massive figure, and there's no way I can even pose him in this mode anywhere in my house. It's just too darn big. But, like I said, transformation is easy, but just affected by the sheer size of the figure. To start with, we're going to go ahead and remove the guns and put them off to the side. Then there are some ramps inside the leg parts here that we fold these sections down and flip the ramps up. Then we'll take the chest ramp and close that. Then take the outer sections and fold them in over the legs. And this is probably the hardest part because things just get in the way. It gets in the way of its own transformation, in all honesty. Getting these parts lined up is not particularly easy. Then take these parts and fold them flat to the ground. Now that we've got the leg sections folded and collapsed up, we can start on the torso. Flip up this section to expose the one arm. And this actually will peg in, though it's not exactly easy to do. And this whole thing is supposed to slide forward, and then you're supposed to be able to move it, but I forgot to slide that forward. So get that flipped up, collapse these bits, flip the helipad over and peg it into place, and reach along the back and fold in the other arm, like so. And fold down the giant cannon. Now what we're going to be doing is going into attack base mode, or attack mode, or vehicle mode. And this section, really hard to get pegged in. Okay, from here we'll take the arms and fold them straight back. And slide out, make sure the cannons are slid out. Fold that up. Now, what we're going to have to do is bring the legs together, and slide them in, and peg them together, and then turn this top section around, and then flip the whole thing around like this. And then the ramp is supposed to come down and sit on the tarmac here, this large section, but I prefer not to. I prefer to leave the ramp folded up. I think it just looks better that way. Then these sections, these white pieces, are supposed to fold down and peg into sections back here. And then we just need to add up some armaments. And here we have his vehicle mode, which is honestly, besides the robot mode, my favorite of the three modes. He has this really neat little claw here that can be used for a lot of play value and fun, but it folds up nicely into the decking of the giant flight mode. I really like this mode simply because it just looks very cool. It is almost exactly the same as original G1 Metroplex's form, but the thing I like the most about this, and this is kind of a weird nerdy thing, is if you take the whole unit and you fold it over, you see thrusters at the bottom. So this thing is, I mean, all these thrusters and jets and jump jets, this thing is supposed to be designed to go into space, and I really like that idea of this being a spacefaring vessel. Now, the directions are a little bit cagey on what to do with the arms, if they're supposed to fold back behind the unit, or these cannons, where they're supposed to go. It doesn't really say on anything. In fact, in a couple of different spots in the box, they have them in different places. The giant cannon here is really nice, however, I have already lost the missile. I shot it off into the basement at some point, into the tangle of wires behind my TV. I don't know where it went. I tried finding it. No dice on my part. Again, according to the directions, you're supposed to fold the ramp down like this, but I don't care for that. I prefer, as I said, to just have it folded up. Again, this is a really nifty alt mode. I think it's really cool, but every time I try to move something along the headwise, it does the lights and sounds. So, very good effort here. Wish there was some more paint apps, but the figure does come with stickers, which I forgot to mention earlier. it comes with a lot of stickers. And I mean a lot of stickers. I just didn't apply them because I don't want to. Now for the last bit, we are going to form the robot mode. And this is actually, there are a few little tricks. Last but not least is the robot mode. The full 24-inch, 2-foot-tall robot mode. So to start with, we're going to take the sections here and fold them up. And it's very important that you fold them in and then snap the railway in, or the flight deck into place. Otherwise, the sections here will not stay together. So we'll do that on both legs, snap that into place, and fold up his shin guards, like so. And then we can take the whole unit and stand him up. And then split his legs apart like that. And I like to slide the legs out a bit. The chest is pretty much as easy as you think it's going to be. First, fold the cannon up and wiggle it out of place and unpeg it, and put that down to the side. Then flip the arm down and flip the hand in place, and unpeg the cannon on the back of his arm, and that will peg up into the side. I'm sorry my lighting is getting a little bit screwed up here. That's just because I'm in the way. Next, for the other arm, do the same thing, and, well, we just saw one of the major flaws with this figure, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So make sure that's up, peg the thingy into place, make the hand not look stupid, and finally flip the head into place and fiddle with it until you get everything lined up. Lights and sounds here are pretty cool. His eyes do flash.
Decepticon deactivation commencing.
And here we have Metroplex in all of his robot-moded glory. This thing is, well, it's huge. I mean, it's the largest production Transformers figure ever produced. It's impressive, I will give you that. But it is fundamentally flawed, at least my figure is. And that has to do with the joints and the legs. The ratchets here in the hips and in the knees cannot hold the figure all that well. I had it last night where I had his gun. He was holding his gun, I moved his arm straight, and the whole figure just toppled right over at the knees. And that's a problem. If you're paying $150 to $200 for the largest Transformer ever created, he should not have problems like this. Now, other than that, I don't have an issue with the figure at all. I think he's a great figure other than the posing or the stability issue in the knees and hips. I think the cannons he has and all the weaponry he has is really cool. I love Scamper. I think this little dude is fantastic. The only other thing I can even think about to complain about is this ramp here. It doesn't really hold in place. It doesn't really peg or snap into place the way I think it should, but that's just a personal issue. The figure itself, as I said, 24 inches. Posability for a figure of this size is pretty good, except for the fact that, like I said, the hips and the knees won't hold him up. Head swivels, arms, ratchet joint in the shoulders, swivel, ratchet under that, ratchet at the elbows, so you could get plenty of posability. There is torso articulation based on the transformation. Hips ratchet, swivel above the knee, knees bend at a good almost 90 degrees. But let's face it, I mean, this thing is so big, you're really not going to be posing it all that much. It's too darn big. Something I wanted to talk about before we wrap up is his gun. It's really, really cool. And when you fire it, it shoots a good foot and a half. Now, the thing I wanted to talk about is if you look very closely up here, towards the back of the gun, that looks like a navigation tower. In fact, this whole gun looks like a giant spaceship. Think about that for a minute. This is not just a massive cannon. This alone, the weapon, is a spaceship. It makes sense. It looks like it's got thrusters here out the back. It looks like it's meant to fly in space, or at the very least, be a submarine, I guess. Just that very thought alone makes me realize that Metroplex has a bit, or a funnel. It has a giant, well, a funnel being a remote-controlled weapon from the Gundam series. It has a giant cannon funnel. That alone is awesome. To sum up, Metroplex is a very impressive, intimidating figure, but ultimately is very, very flawed. I am glad that I was able to get a hold of the figure, but I just am angry that it has the issues in the hips and the knees that it does. It flops around, and every time I try to put it in any kind of real pose, he just falls on his face, which is a shame. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video review of Titan Class Generations Metroplex. If you're able to find this guy for a decent discount, I think he'd be worth picking up. Otherwise, hold off until he goes on sale somewhere. As always, I have been Baltmatrix, and I will catch you next time.